In this video, I will show you how to divide polynomials that have a coefficient in front of the variable. Right here on the bottom, you see this 2 in front of the x. And so what you want to do with that is you still want to set the denominator equal to 0 like before in a solve. So move the 1, so that becomes a negative 1. We have 2x equal to negative 1, then divide by 2. So we have negative 1 over 2, so negative 1/2. And now we can put this over here, negative 1/2, and everything else is like before. So we have a 12 for the x cubed, we have an 18 for the x squared, we have a 10 for the x, and for the number by itself, the constant, that's a negative 5. And now we can begin the process. So drop down the 12. So positive 12 times a negative 1/2, that's going to be a positive times negative, it's going to be a negative. So now you can do a 12 times the top. So 12 times 1 is 12, divided by the bottom. 12 divided by 2 is going to be 6. So you can multiply the top then divide it by the bottom. Or you can divide it by the bottom then multiply it by the top. It doesn't matter what order. So you can divide by the bottom. So 12 divided by 2 is 6 times 1 on the top, which is still 6. Okay, now 18 minus 6 is going to be a 12. Then 12 times negative 1/2, we just did that earlier. That's still going to be a negative 6. 10 minus 6 is going to be a 4. And now 4 divided by, so 4 times a negative is going to be a negative. And 4 divided by 2 is 2 times 1 on the top is still going to be 2. And negative 5 minus 2 is going to be negative 7. Now, the step that a lot of students forget to do is here, because we divided by a 2 here, so we need to divide every single one of these by 2. So 12 divided by 2 is going to give you 6. 12 divided by 2 is going to be 6. 4 divided by 2 is going to be 2. And now let's fill it in. So we begin with the x to the third power. So this will be x. 1 less than that, x to the second. And this will just be x. And this will be the constant term. And the remainder, still put negative 7 over 2x plus 1 as your answer. So for this example, we will set the bottom, the denominator, equal to 0 as well. So first move this negative 3, so that becomes a plus 3. 0 plus 3 is 3, and 7x, bring it down. Then divide by 3. Divide by 7. So that got us positive 3 over 7. So as you can see, after you do a couple of these, you can do this process in your head. So just move the negative 3, that becomes a positive 3, and then put it over 7 because we need to divide the coefficient. So 3 over 7. And here we got a 7, a 4, a negative 24, don't forget the negative, a negative 5, and a negative 2. Now let's do this process. Bring out the 7. So 7 divided by 7 is 1 times 3. It's going to be 3. So the positive 3. 4 plus 3 is going to be 7. And so 7 divided by 7. So divide the bottom. That's a 1 times the top. That's a 3. Negative 24 plus 3 is negative 21. So here we have a negative 21 times a positive fraction. So that will, negative times positive is negative. 21 divided by 7 is 3. Then multiply the top. 3 times the top, that's going to be 9. 3 times 3 is 9. Negative 5 minus 9 is going to be a negative 14. Then negative times the positive is going to be a negative. So 14 divided by 7 is 2. 2 times 3 on the top is going to give you a 6. And so here we have negative 2 minus 6, which is negative 8. Now, let's divide everything by 7. because we divided this by 7, so divide everything by 7. Except for the remainder, leave that alone. Now for your answer, 7 divided by 7 is 1. So we're just going to 1x to the third. 7 divided by 7 is also another. So it's to the third because we start with 4, so 1 less than that. So x to the second. Negative 21 divided by 7 is going to be negative 3. X. Negative 14 divided by 7 is going to be a negative 2. And then here's the remainder. Negative 8 over 7x minus 3. So for this last example, we're going to set the bottom equal to 0, but in our heads. So let's practice doing that in our heads. So that plus 3, we need to move that. So that becomes a negative 3. And then we need to divide by the coefficient of 5. So negative 3 over 5. Okay, now let's copy it down. So we got 5, so that's b to the third power, that's a 5. B to the second power, that's a 3. B to the first power, that's missing. So let's put a 0. And then, now the constant, which is just a plain old 2. Now, drop this down, bring down the 5. So positive 5 times a negative fraction, so positive times negative is going to be a negative. 5 divided by 5 is 1. 1 times 3 is 3. So 3 minus 3 is going to be 0. 0 times anything is going to be 0. 0 plus 0 or 0 minus 0, whatever you want to do. That's going to be a 0. And 0 times anything is going to be 0 again. Then 2 plus 0 is going to be a 2. Now we need to divide everything by 5. So 5 divided by 5 is just going to be 1. So 1, and we don't need to put the coefficient of 1. So this will be b. Let me change the color. So b, this is to the third power, so 1 less than that. B to the second power. Here is b to the first power, and here is the constant. So, but because they're zeros, we don't need to put anything. So all we have is going to be b squared plus the remainder, which is 2 over the bottom, 5b plus 3.